The story of the hostel room. Nobody wanted kicks off on a sweltering evening in Accra, where the air feels thick and the ceiling fans barely help. The campus buzzed with life, students bickering over grades, couples having quiet spats, and a group of guys rapping poorly near the cafeteria. It was all loud, chaotic, and messy, but on the far side, there was a faded hostel block that the school had been patching up forever. On the second floor sat room 208, looking perfectly normal during the day, but everyone knew better. The students, caretakers, even some lecturers whispered about it. That room had a reputation. Sure, the school brushed it off as just rumors or superstitions, but let's be real, nobody picked 208 willingly. If you ended up there, it was usually because of bad luck or being a late registrant. The first student to move into that room was a quiet girl named Efua. You know the type, top grades, keeps to herself, doesn't buy into ghost stories. She didn't even bat an eye at the gossip about previous occupants getting sick. She rolled her eyes, grabbed her bucket, and carried her mattress in without a second thought. But everyone helping her noticed the room felt stale, like air that had been trapped for ages. She laughed it off, even when her best friend joked it smelled like someone forgot to leave. Efua just chalked it up to humidity and started unpacking. But that first night, total nightmare. She hit the pillow around midnight, wiped out from orientation, and barely an hour in, she jolted awake, feeling like someone was standing at the foot of her bed. No sound, just this heavy presence. Heart racing, she whispered, "Who's there?" But the room looked the same. She forced herself back to sleep, telling her mind to chill. But at 3:17 a.m., she woke up sweating, the room colder than it should be. Sleep. Not happening. The next morning, Efua laughed it off. Just new room jitters, she said, but something was definitely up. She started coughing, a dry, annoying cough she'd never had before. By the end of the week, she felt wiped out every morning, like she hadn't slept at all. And every night around 3 a.m., she'd wake up suddenly, sensing someone else in the room. Someone listening, breathing, watching. She mentioned it to Mensa, the old caretaker. He nodded to quickly, glancing nervously at her door. "I'll check it," he said, but he never did. She noticed he avoided the room. Efua started hearing soft, slow breathing from the wardrobe. It wasn't loud, just rhythmic, like someone was sleeping. The first time it happened, she froze, staring at the wardrobe, just her clothes inside. But the air felt colder, so she slammed the door shut, knowing that sound didn't travel like that through old walls. 3 weeks in, she fainted during a morning lecture. The clinic said it was stress, low blood sugar, not enough sleep, the usual stuff. They gave her meds and told her to rest more, but how do you rest in a room that won't let you? By week 4, she called her parents, packed her bags, and asked for a room change. The housing office shot her down, saying all rooms are full, so she left campus for a week. That same day, the caretaker changed the lock, muttering under his breath. Some said he even sprinkled water by the door. The next person thrown into room 208 was a boy named Nana, one of those lively, loud football boys who thought fear was for other people. He joked about Efua being dramatic. How can a wardrobe breathe? You people like stories too much. He moved in with music blasting at 11 p.m., carrying food from the night market, acting like he owned the floor. But that first night humbled him immediately. At around 40 a.m., he woke up with a jolt, heart racing, not from a nightmare, but from a sound by his ear. Not breathing, whispering, too soft to catch the words, too real to ignore. He turned on the light. Empty room. Silence. His roommates from other floors told him maybe he was half dreaming. He pretended to believe them, but by the third night, the whispering had moved, now coming from inside the wardrobe. And unlike Efua, Nana didn't check it. He moved his mattress from the wardrobe side of the room to the opposite wall, muttering prayers under his breath. He didn't tell anyone that he slept with the light on for 2 nights. A week later, he collapsed on the football field during a match. Same diagnosis: exhaustion, dehydration, stress. He insisted on changing rooms. The school refused again. But he didn't wait. He moved out on his own, abandoned the room, slept on a friend's floor until he found another place. And that was that. Room 208 was empty again. The school patched the walls, repainted the door, tried to disguise it like nothing was wrong. But you can't repaint atmosphere. You can't fix a room that feels like it's breathing. The third student was a new transfer named Ya. She was practical, tough, and extremely unimpressed with campus myths. When she heard the room's reputation, she laughed. "Me, I don't fear anything," she said. She moved in with her suitcase, her bucket, and a Bluetooth speaker that she used to blast gospel songs. The first night passed without event. The second night, she thought she heard something shifting in the wardrobe, but she rolled her eyes and went back to sleep. But the third night, that was when everything changed. Ya heard footsteps inside the room. Soft, slow, deliberate footsteps crossing from the door to the wardrobe. She opened her eyes slowly, terrified she'd see someone standing over her. But there was no one. The footsteps continued anyway. That was the part that broke her. Footsteps you can't see will shake even the strongest person's mouth. She ran out of the room barefoot, sprinting down the corridor like something was after her. People woke up to her screaming. Security came. She refused to go back inside, even with guards present. It took 3 people to calm her down. The next morning, the school finally decided to investigate. Not because they believed her. Universities rarely believe students, but because the noise had spread too much. People were beginning to avoid the entire corridor. They opened the wardrobe. Inside, everything looked normal. But the caretaker noticed something odd. The back panel of the wardrobe, a thin plywood sheet, had a tiny crack along the bottom edge. Almost unnoticeable, someone got a screwdriver. They pulled the panel loose. Behind it wasn't a wall. Behind it was a hollow gap, a crawl space, a dark, narrow, human-sized space. The air that drifted out was cold, damp, heavy with the smell of old sweat and something rotting slowly, patiently. The torchlight revealed a thin mattress on the concrete, old clothing, a rusted food can, a plastic bottle, a blanket stiff with dirt, and the unmistakable indentation of someone. Someone who had been lying there. Recently, the room went silent. Everyone realized the same thing at the same time. It wasn't ghosts. It wasn't demons. Someone had been living in the walls, listening, breathing, watching, and leaving at night through God knows where. They sealed the room that same day. No announcement, no explanation. They just boarded it up and quietly removed it from the accommodation list forever. Students still whisper about it. Some swear they still hear footsteps from that corridor at night. Others say the school never found the person who lived in the walls, that they disappeared deeper into the building using hidden spaces nobody has discovered yet. And the room, 208, still stands there, dark, locked, unused. But ask anyone who's lived in that hostel long enough, and they'll tell you the same thing. Sometimes, when you walk past it late at night, you hear breathing behind the door.